With this tutorial, I want to show you how to set up your scenes, save your scenes, and then you're ready to print the scenes. If you're not done, if you have not finished your models, your site model, your building model, it doesn't matter. When you save the scenes, they'll update with the content that you have in there. It's a lot like an AutoCAD with the XREF. So you should be all set. So I'm going to go ahead and get started saving the scenes. Now, in SketchUp, we call them scenes, even though they're views, but they're referred to as scenes. So what I want to do is one thing here as we start with the scenes, you'll go up to the View tab, and you do have to go to the animation option. And from animation, you're going to add a scene. Now, we're not animating anything. This is just how they show things in SketchUp. So I'm going to click on Add Scene. And what it's going to say here is a little bit of a warning. It's not a big deal. It said, what would you like to do with your style changes if you've made any? Just go ahead and save it as a new style. That's fine. And then go ahead and click Create Scene. What we're doing right now is basically saving a default scene. You'll see what I mean later when it comes time to set up all the other scenes. My default scene here, this is the one I'm going to come back to um, when I after I set up a view or a scene and then put another one together. So this is called scene one, but I'm going to change that name. So I'm going to right click here where it says scene one, and I'm going to click rename. And I'm going to backspace. I'm just going to call this one default, like that. Okay, that's my default view. Now, let me go ahead and get started setting up the scenes that are needed for the semester here. You're going to be creating, let's see, one, two, three, four scenes, five scenes. We're going to start with a drone view, which is going to be more or less a view from the top looking down. You're going to do an eye level exterior, which is looking at it, pretty much eye level here at your building. And then we're going to do an eye level interior, so you're going to be inside the building. We're going to do a section cut because I need to show you how to do that section cut. And then whatever view of your choice that you want, that's going to be a personal scene. So it's entirely up to you. Now, let me go ahead and get started with my drone view. So for the drone view, I want to make sure that I'm showing my building in the neighborhood along with all of the other buildings. But don't do a drone view that is, way out here that kind of shows the site being empty. You want to be able to zoom in a bit. And if you need to extend the street or the street, and make sure you're able to get in there and look at your building, and you see how there's a little sliver over here of street. If it's a little like that, it's not a big deal. So I'm just going to pan this over and maybe pan this down a little bit, maybe angle it like that. I'll fix a couple of things here in just a second. But what you want to do is make sure that you're not seeing any of the background empty. So I need to maneuver my view so that I'm in here nice and tight. And you know what? I like this view right here. This is going to work. I just accidentally came upon it. So I'm just going to pan up a little bit because I don't want this corner building getting cropped off at the bottom there in my view. And I also want my building centered right here. Okay, this is a decent drone view for me. So I'm going to go ahead and save this view as my drone view. So I'm going to come up here to View, Animation, and then I'm going to click on Add Scene. So it's going to add this new scene. It tells me it's scene number 2, but I'm going to click on scene number 2 and then right click it, and I'm going to rename it. And this one I'm going to refer to as Drone, and then Enter. Now, I have two scenes, and I wanted to show you something. Here's the reason they call it animation. If I go back to my default view, you'll see how it transitions it slowly. If I go to my drone view, now that takes me in. So I can basically walk myself through the views, and I get this animation effect. And there's a way to save all of these as one animation, but we're not going to do that. We're going to save these as individual scenes, and that's it. Now, I have a preference because when I start setting up all these views and I'm switching between them and it takes a couple of seconds here to move between one or the other. I rather it just jump straight to that view. So what I do is I come over here to view, I go to the animation tab, and I go to settings. And in the settings, you see where it says enable scene transition, and it's going to take 2 seconds between that transition. I just disable this. I turn it off. Again, personal preference, and then I close out. Now, when I switch between my scenes, now I click on drone, and it just jumps to it. That's what I like to do when I have multiple views. So if you want to, change it. If not, then you enjoy the transitions, and that's fine. So now that I have this drone view saved, I want to make sure that I get it ready to print. And to do that, I want to make sure that I'm turning off the axis here. So go up to view and then turn off the axis. And then I'm also going to go to view and turn off the guides. So it's going to hide the guide. So I'm just cleaning this up. Those are very helpful tools, but I want this to be a nice scene. So turn that off, and I'm trying to see what else I want to turn off. Um, yeah, I don't have any section cuts or section fills yet, so that can be okay. Now, the next thing I do here is I turn on shadows. So click on shadows, it turns them on, and then you come over here to your default tray and you go to the shadows and then set them up as you'd like. I prefer to have shadows either really early or really late, but I also set it up so that my building is not in shade in this view. So the settings that I have now are good. They'll work out. But you can change the time, you can change the date. So let's say I want somewhere in the summer date, and you can see how the sun is changing as I move that across. So this is August, and then I can pick the time of day. And like I said, I like either late in the evening, so that's closer to 5 p.m., or early in the morning. And I start with that. And if it's going to work out, great. If not, then sure, you can try different settings. But notice how with this setting, my building is not in shade. And that's what I'm trying to avoid. I want to highlight my building, and maybe I want to put my time of day there because it's still creating some shadow from the roof onto the building, and I see some shadow from the tree, a little bit of shadow from the people. So this could work out. Whatever you prefer is going to be fine. Now, after I add the shadow and after I've made those changes, I need to go back to my scene. So I'm going to click up here on drone. I'm going to right click drone. Don't click on it. Sorry. Just right click drone. And then you should be able to update. Click on update. Otherwise, it's not going to save any of these changes. So when I update, it's now asking me, do I want to save this as a new style? And the answer is yes. Update the scene. Okay. That's one thing I like to add. And then in the styles, we have a default style that we've been using. But when you look at the styles here in SketchUp, what this is going to allow you to do is kind of change the scene a little bit. So there's a blueprint style here. There's a few, and I'm just going to go over to in model right now. So in my model view, I'm in this style right now. This is the architectural design style. It's called number 2 because I said save the change. It's fine. And that's okay. But there's another new setting here, and it's called ambient occlusion. And with this one, it leans more towards lifelike. So if I hover here for a second, it says colored clay. I'm not going to use that one. Dark pen, but where are we? Pencil and paper, interior, exterior. So I want this one. So when I click on exterior, notice how it changes it. There's a little bit of vibrancy to it. If you want to, you can use this. You don't have to. I'm just showing you your options. Um, there's also some photo modeling here, but if I set it to that, I don't like these settings. I'm just showing them to you so you can see them. So look through these and see if there's something that you prefer. Got some color sets here, so you can change this up a little bit if you'd like, and just play around with them. Whatever you prefer is going to be fine. So I'm going to go back over here. I'm going to go to the ambient occlusion. I'm going to click on this exterior and just use this one. Okay. So that's one change I can make there in the style. And then I can come over here to edit. And under edit, I can change and have it show edges or not show the edges. So if I click the edges off, notice how it took the edges away. Look at my conceptual masses, but also my building. So they're gone. You may like that or you may not like that. It's up to you. So I'm going to turn the edges back on. Um, the profiles, if I turn those off, does it change anything? Not much really from what I see. So I'll leave that alone. Um, and then that's on the edge settings. I can go over here to my face settings, make some changes here. I'm not going to get into it too much. Um, I can change my background settings. Um, there's a watermark, model settings, a lot of things you can change. But if you want to, just stay within the edge settings here. You should be okay. On the extensions, I just want to show this to you. You can click on extensions, and I'm going to change this from a 3 to, let's say, 10 and enter. And you see how the lines along the edges of the buildings, how they change. So it almost gives it like a sketch-like quality. Entirely up to you if you want that, but you don't need to set it that way. I'm going to turn extensions off and leave it alone. And you can try all the other settings, play around with them, see what you can do. Um, so I'm going to leave it there. I noticed that my guidelines turned back on, so I need to go back and go to view and turn the guides off. And it may have been due to the settings, due to changing the style, and that's fine. So now that I've done that, I'll go ahead and right click and update. And yes, save as a new style. That's fine. Update the scene. So that's what I wanted to do here. So I'm all set with my drone view. Now, I can continue in this drone view to set up the other views, but I have a personal preference. I go back to my default view, and this is why I saved it as default. So this takes me right back to where I started, um, and then I can make all the changes I want. But if you wanted to, you can stay in that drone view. If you like these settings and you want to apply these to the next view, which is going to be the exterior eye level view, then keep it. And then just pan your view like this, and then take it a little bit closer like that. And that looks like a good view. However, there's a lot of, there, not a lot, there's a bit of empty space back here. You could fill it with a tree, put a building there, whatever you'd like to do, because the one thing that'll help you with these rendered views, with these scenes, is to not let your eye travel all the way to infinity. Here, let me just show you real quick. If I pan over here like this, see this view here, my focus is now on what I don't see in the background. My eye just keeps traveling, and I don't want that to happen. I want to be able to stop my eye from going too far. So I'm going to come back here, and for example, if I set up, let's say this view, like this, okay? Notice how I don't see the horizon line, and all of my information, all of my objects. They're either in the foreground, like this object here, in the midground, like the um, fence here. Tree is also in the midground, and then my building is in the background. So my eye can then come back. So be real careful in terms of the composition. And if you need to, just cheat a little bit. So here, let me show you something. And that's a nice building to have back there. I'm going to take this tree here and I'm going to copy it. So I'm going to click on move from here and then just tap the control key and I'm going to put it right there. And you might say to yourself, well, that's right in the middle of the um, backyard, and that's fine. Um, but I need it to cover up that area that's empty. And then I'm going to tap the space bar. I'm going to click on this again, and then I'm going to type M for move from here, and then tap the control key. I'm just going to move it further back a little bit like that. Tap the escape key, tap the space bar, and then I'll go back to that view and see if I helped myself out a little bit. And I did. but I want to make sure that I'm a little bit closer maybe or pan over. Yeah, see, so that tree, and by the way, this fence here also helps to stop that. So that's really good. So make sure you set up your views. There we go. In such a way that you're keeping our attention in the foreground, midground, and background, but not letting our view travel all the way far. So like this angle here, this isn't good because I'm seeing all the way and I can see a horizon line. So I want to avoid that. So I'm going to bring my view over like this. Okay. Now, this figure here may be too close. Maybe it takes away attention from my building. It's distracting. So I'm just going to move that over. And this is where you're doing a lot of compositional work with your models. So I'm going to put them right here, for example. Tap the escape key. And, he's looking at the building, which is great. And this is what I really want front and center of my view, my scene, my building. So I'm just going to pan this over a little bit more, orbit this way. Again, keep positioning it. And I think that'll work. All right. So now, other things I wanted to talk about here as we're setting up the view. I don't know how high off the ground I am. So there are some tools over here on the side in the icons over here. This is my walk tool. I'll get to that a little bit later. I want to get to this one here, which is the look around. I'm going to click on that. When I click on look around, if you look in the lower right hand corner, it says eye height. Right now, my eye height is at 3 feet 8 inches. So I want to raise my eye height a little bit. All I'm going to do is type in a value, and I'm going to type in 5 feet 6 because that's typical eye height. You can make it 5'4", 5 feet, 6 feet, whatever you want. But I'll type 5'6" and enter. And notice how it moves my eye up a bit, which is what I wanted because I was feeling a little too low to the ground there. And now with this eye, I can look around and I can change my target. So I can look down, I can see more sidewalk, or I can look up and I see more sky. But my eye height stays at 5'6". So I want to take it where I'm pretty much looking right at my building and I can pan around a little bit like this. And once I have that, I'm good. And then I'll just go ahead and tap the space bar. And then the other setting I wanted you to take into consideration is this one here. This is the field of view. So I'm going to click on field of view. And right now it tells me I have a 35-degree angle. So this is like a camera. And if I type a higher value, I'm going to type in 60 and enter. Notice what that does. I haven't, it changes the field of view, but I haven't changed the position where I'm standing. So that, it looks like it created like a little bit more towards a fisheye, and that's okay. If you're looking for that effect, it's fine. And I'm going to try a different value now. So I'm going to go, first of all, I'll go back to 35 where I had it, and then I'm going to try to go less than that. So I'm going to try 20 and enter. Now, when I do that, now it really, again, I haven't changed my field of my position, but now it's altered it to the point where I'm losing my perspective view. This is almost looking like an isometric drawing. So I don't want to do that too much because I'm really close to my building. So play around with that. And it's okay if you leave it at 35. I always just like to try different values out. So maybe I'll try 30 for my field of view. Or I might try 40, see what that does. And maybe I want this to be 40, and then I'll try one other tool, and that is this one, which is the walk. So if I click on walk, I move my cursor right here, and it says click and drag to walk over in the lower left-hand corner. So give it one click, and then slowly pull your mouse down. You're still clicking on the mouse and then pull it down slowly. So I'm walking away or stepping back. And let's say I stop right here, I release my mouse. Okay. So what I've done is I changed my field of view, and I wanted to keep that. And then I just moved further away so that I was back to a similar composition. So the tools over here in this location are really helpful to set up a view. And then the last thing I'll do here is I'll go to my look around because my eye height did change with all those changes I made. And I'm going to set this back to, let's say 5 feet this time. 5 feet, enter. So it's at 5 feet, and then I can still look around if I want, and I think I want that view. Maybe I want to incorporate more of the tree, but if I do that, now I'm looking up too far. So in my case, I think I'm okay with the tree being cropped. So that's a good view, and I'll go ahead and tap the escape key. And what you're looking for in these perspective views, this one in particular, is you want to let people, you want to guide people so that there's something in the foreground, for example, this figure here, and then you have a tree that is in the midground and it's taking us back to our building, which is here. And then I have the trees in the background, but it stops there. And then maybe I've got my conceptual masses, my buildings in the back over here, but that's it. And then my eyes come back to the front, and that's what I want to do. So this is my new view, and I want to show you one other thing here. I'm going to come over to, let's see, not the face settings, but the background settings. Sure. And right now I have a sky in there. I can turn the sky off, and this is what I get. It's just very dull. So I'm going to turn the sky back on, and then you can click on that color swatch and you can change it. And right now I have the color wheel, but I can change this to my RGB sliders. And maybe I want a little bit more of a blue tint like that. And if you're okay, you can go to the hue, saturation, and brightness. So this is the hue, the range of colors. Maybe you want it a little bit darker, and maybe you want it a little brighter. And then there's also HLS. And then that's the hue, and I believe that would still be your saturation, and then lightness. Um, there we go. There's the lightness. And then I can go ahead and click OK. And notice how that changes my sky. It's a little bit brighter, and I like that. And then as I'm looking at this, the other thing I'd like to change is my shadows, or at least consider changing them. So I'm going to see what happens if I change my time of day. This is too early in the morning, so my building is complete shadows. I don't want that. So now I'm going to come over to later in the evening, and now my building is experiencing better shadows uh, because the sun is behind me in this view. So I think I might go with that one. And then you can also change the date. Remember, during the summer, the sky is higher up in the sky, so it's going to set later and rise earlier. But in the later months, in November and December, it's a very low sun, close to the horizon. So you might get a better sun effect, but that's entirely up to you if you want to change that. And I can bring it over here to January, February, which gives me similar results. And then I can just keep carrying it across the months and find a month that I like and go with it. And see, that to me is a little too much. So I'm going to stop and bring it back and go with that setting for my time and my date. So play around with this. See what you like. See what you prefer. And then once I have that set, I should save my scene. So I'm going to come up here to view. I'm going to go to animation, add scene. So it's adding this new scene. Yes, create a new style here. Give it a moment. There's the scene. It's saved. That. Going to rename it. And this one we'll call it eye level exterior and enter. Okay. Two down, two more to go. I'm going to start to kind of pick up the pace here since I started covering a lot of that already. So now it's time to go to the interior view. And the last time I started with the drone view and I used those settings. I'm going to go back now to the default view and start from here. So I can zoom in and I want to get into my building. So I'm going to orbit like this, and you can manually work your way in through one of the windows here like this. And now I'm inside, almost. I'm trying to get through the glass, and it takes a little bit of the scrolling of the mouse, but I'm in. And then I can orbit inside of my building like this. Now, again, don't worry if it's not finished. You can still save the scenes and then come back and finish it. So here, now I'm inside the wall. And this is where it gets tricky because once you get in the wall, to zoom in with your wheel mouse, it's just tricky to do. So I'm in here now and I'm going to take advantage of my look around. So I just want to look around and see my space. I want to walk and I want to walk back. And the nice thing about this walking feature is that I can walk back and as soon as it hits a wall, it's going to stop. So I've hit my wall, can't go back any further. I'm going to change my field of view because I currently, or I had it set to a different setting, but I want to try something different here. See if I can see more of my building on the inside. So I'm going to try 40 and enter. Nope, that didn't work. So I'm going to go in the opposite direction. I'll try 30 and then I'll try to cut that down to 25. And now I'm inside my walls. So I'll just try to pan over. Yeah, interesting. So let me pan like this. There we go. It does get a little tricky. No, I'm still inside the wall. And now I need to get back in there. There we go. A little too far. Let's see. Field of view instead of 25, if I try 20. I don't know what that's doing. It's not changing it as much as I wanted to. I'm going to go in the other direction now. 60. Okay. And then I'm going to walk back. And I think 60 was the better answer because it's a wider field of view. So I needed to go higher instead of lower. So that's showing me my entire interior space. And then I'll go back to my eye, the eye, I call it the eye, to look around. And I want to set my eye height here to 5 feet. And then I do want to look around. Now, what's going to help with this interior view, and you decide if you want to look towards the front or towards the back, your choice. But if you're in the front, make sure that you populate it with something here so that we're not seeing that horizon line. I'm going to fix that in just a minute. So let's say this is the view. And then the other thing that I would like you to do is let some sun through these windows. Find a time and a date that's going to work. So do I have my shadows on? Let me see. View. I don't have them on, so I'm going to turn them on now. And this is great. So see, I'm getting the shadows to come through, and this really adds some nice qualities to that interior space. But I'm going to still change it a bit to see what might work best. Changing the date, changing the time there. And I like it when I get a shadow that's going on the floor and then creeping up the wall. It's just a nice effect. Let's see if that'll work. What if I change it in the other direction? What do I get? That could work also. Whatever you decide. I kind of like that setting there. And then look, if I just change it, the date itself, notice how I can control the shadows in that direction along the floor. Because again, as we get closer to the winter season and early spring, we always get a low sun, so we're going to get these long shadows here. So let's say I want to keep that, and that's good. Now I'm going to come up here to my styles. I'm going to look and click on select, and I'm still with the ambient occlusion, and this time I'm going to go with the interior. See what that does. So notice what it's doing along the walls, kind of adding a little bit of a dark area. So I like it, works for me, and I'll keep that. Using the sun already, I can go into my, let's see, I can edit my settings here. So the sky, I'll turn it on. So I'm getting a sky back there. And maybe I want this very blue. So I'll go to my color wheel, go over here to the blue colors. That's a little bit dark, so I'm going to switch over to hue, saturation, and brightness. Make it a little bit brighter, but less saturated, like that. So that gives me a nice color. The ground. Maybe I want to turn the ground on. Let's see what this will do. And by doing that, notice how it's going to extend infinitely. So I do see the horizon line. Maybe I want to change that ground color to something else, like maybe a green color. So I'll start there. And then I'll change my hue and saturation. So maybe brighten that up a little bit. Less saturated like that. And I get the green. So green beyond, but still it's missing something. I'm going to get to that. So let's say these are the settings that I want. And then, of course, when you continue to populate with your furniture, with your fixtures, content from the warehouse, you may have to make adjustments to the view, and that's completely fine. All right, file, or I'm sorry, view, component edit. Nope, sorry, I'm going in the wrong direction, or I need to go down one more. Animation, add scene. And this one, create a new scene, yes, with the new style. And this new scene, we're going to right click it and rename it. And this is going to be eye level interior. Okay. I told you I need to fix what's going on back there. So I'm going to come over here to my default view and watch this. I'm just going to pan this over. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take all of this. There we go. And I'm going to make a group out of it. Right click and group it. Type M for move. And then move it over this way. Tap the control key. There we go. And just pan it over in this direction like this. And I know that I'm out a little too far. That street is pretty wide. So tapping the escape key, tapping the space bar. Where do I want to put it? And here's where I get a little more detail oriented. How wide of a street do I want? I'm going to do a tape measure and check it from here to there. I'm at 33 feet. Good enough. That's fine for a neighborhood street. So I'm just going to take this and I'm going to move it from this endpoint right down here over. I'm going to let it constrain to red axis. So right arrow key, panning over, and just let it line up with that edge. There we go. Tap my escape key and the space bar, or click off of my objects. There we are. You can ungroup it or leave it as is, doesn't matter. And then let's go back to my eye level interior. And now look at that. I have some buildings, but I'm still seeing through something through the buildings there. So let's go back to my default view. And I'm going to position my view. And it looks like I have that building right there. So now I will take that group, right click, explode it, click off of it, take this building, delete it, take this building. Nope. I need two lots to fill up. So I'm going to go 1, 2, holding down the control key. M for move from this endpoint, tap the control key, just copying that over here like that. Tap the escape key. And then this is me just having a little bit of fun, but I wanted to show you how these compositions make a difference. And then I'm going to do this. I'm going to take this tree and I'm going to type M, and then I'm going to start moving it, tap the control key. I'm going to put it right here in between the houses. And then I'm going to move that one, tap the control key between the houses like this. And if you wanted to, you can put a fence in the back over there as well, whatever works best. I'm going to take this tree, come over here, and I'm going to scale it and just make it bigger like this, uniform scale, nice and tall. And is it still on the ground? Sure is. Okay. So yes, I am doing a lot of work for something that may not appear uh, as much in my scene, but it makes a difference. So back I go to my eye level interior, and I think that looks a bit better. So yeah, that's all it took. And if you wanted to, let me just go back here for a second on default view. I don't need all of the other buildings over here, but since I copied them all at once, I can leave them there. but you don't have to. You could have just simply copied a few and see if that would have made a difference. So we're just setting up our scenes, setting up our views. And now I'm really interested. If I go back to my drone view, um, I might be able to pan it out a little bit or zoom out like this. Or maybe now I can change my field of view. So instead of 35, what if I set that to 40? See, it changes it a bit there. And then I can maybe pan it like this. And look at that, I'm getting a neighborhood effect. And maybe this is the new view I want because now I'm showing the corner here and there's my building. Maybe just turn it a little bit like that. Maybe over a bit. Yeah, so I get the impression, right, that there's a street on the other side. So maybe I'm going to come up here to my drone view, right click it, and then update it. And I'm doing this on purpose because you can update these views anytime you want. My eye level exterior, yeah, looks good. And then my interior, also looking good now. Okay, back I go to my default view. And the next one I want to set up is the section cut. So the section cut, I'm just showing you the concept of section cuts so that so that you're aware of them. But we'll apply them here also to one of our views. So let me tap the spacebar. And I want to use this tool here. This is the section plane. Give that a click. And what it's going to do is just create a slice and then hide one side and keep the other side visible. And right now it's going to slice along the blue axis and it's going to slice on the ground. I don't want that. I want it to slice along either the red or green because I want to see the length of my property. And as I move my cursor, it's kind of finding some faces and doesn't know what I want it to snap to. So I can just toggle. So I'm going to use my right arrow key, and the right arrow key is going to slice it along the front. I don't want that. So I'm going to go with my left arrow key so that it slices along the length of my building. So at this point, I'll zoom in and I'm just going to click anywhere, let's say right here on this corner, okay, of the building. So I click on the corner and it says, what do you want to name it? Just go with the default name. That's fine. And then go ahead and click OK. So that's my section. And notice how it's hiding the information on the back side, but it's showing me what's on the front side. And because I put it right on the building, it's just cutting right through it. And that's why it looks so dark there. But what I can do now is I can click on the section cut itself. M for move. And then I can click and drag. So I'm sorry, not click and drag. One click out here. And notice how I can move that section cut. And now I want it to go through my building like that. And as it's going through the building, you see how it's just filling in the walls and not the inside. So I'm going to give it a click, oh, somewhere here. Done. And then I can move my cursor or move myself closer to the view. And that's the section cut right through the building. And this one, don't worry so much about the composition. I just want to see that you know how to do a section cut through the building, through the site. So any way you'd like to compose it is fine. So I'm just going to set it up like this, more or less. And in this one, yeah, I kind of try and hide that background still, that horizon line. So I'm going to bring it down to eye level a bit here like this. And this will be good enough. And if you wanted to show somebody like what's the relationship of the building to the sidewalk and the rest of the property, this is a decent view. So I'll tap the space bar. And then options that you have here. Under the styles, if I go over here to edit, if I click on edge settings, okay, profiles, dashes, color, there's another setting here. That's the face settings, background. What is this one? Watermark, modeling. Somewhere there's a setting where I can change that fill color. And maybe it was here. Color all same. No. Edges. Don't worry. If I can't find it, then it's not a big deal. Um, okay. Let me go back here. Maybe not the color, but I know I can come up here to my view and you see where it says section fill. So I can turn that off. and it will not fill the section. That's entirely up to you if you want to do that or not. And I just can't remember where to change that other setting for the color. That's a face setting, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time because it's okay. Those are watermarks. Okay, section fill. There it is. So you can change that section fill from a very dark color, and I'm just going to change the brightness on it. I'm going to lighten it up a bit like this. Then click OK, and then click off of it. And you see how it lightens it up. So that's good. Your decision, your choice. And if this is going to be my section cut, I do want to go into my view. I do want to turn off my axis, and I also want to turn off my guides. And then I also want to turn off, I can't remember if it's my plane or my cut, but I'm going to turn one of these off. Let's see. If it's the section plane, yes. Okay, so it's hiding the plane, but it's still cutting through it. And notice that if I bring that plane back, notice how there's a grayness to it. There's a tint, and that's because it's showing me the plane. But I don't want to see that. So turning off the plane, and this is the view. This is good enough, and then I can position it a little bit better so it's a little more in the middle of the screen like that. And I've got my section cut. And then go ahead and if you want to add shadows, you could, but you don't have to. You can leave it as is. This is fine. It's not meant to be an artistic view. It's meant to be more of a technical view. So now I can go to View, Animation. I'll add my scene. We're just going to call this one, let's create the scene. And this one is going to be called, right click, rename, and we'll just call this one section and enter. Okay, so those are the 4 that I can show you how to set up. Go back to your default view. If another idea comes to mind, and I hope you have an idea of a different view that you would like to include, save that one, and that one's going to be your personal view, the personal scene rather. One suggestion I'll make, you don't have to do this, you can turn off the roof on your building. Let me go over here to my tags. I'm going to look for my 3D roof, turn that off, and now I can see in my building. And then I can orbit my view to just look down into the building as if it were a floor plan cut or floor plan view like this. And that's not bad. And you can try like a 1 point perspective and notice how it's giving me a bit of glare with that floor, so I'm not going to do that. But you know, something like this can work if you wanted to do that. It's entirely up to you. But if you have another thought of what you'd like to do, then that's okay. Um, this is just taking the roof off, but I could, let me just play around here a little bit. I could leave that 3D roof on. Let's see. And then I can come over here to a section cut and click on section, plane, and then use my up arrow key to constrain to blue and let it cut right there where the roof is. Okay, go ahead and okay that. Zoom it out a little bit. And now it's showing me I have 2 views. So I know this is the active one. So I click on that. And then I type M for move. I'm going to click out here. And now I want to move it up or down. So real careful moving it down and maybe right there. And then back to my selection tool, click on it. And now it's cutting through my conceptual masses. I'm not even going to see those. And I can do this, set up a view like that. Look down at it and maybe go to view, turn off my section plane, and my section cut stays there. Change the color if I want. And then to really make sure I'm looking at it straight from the top down, I can go to my different views here and I can select this one that says top view. So there's the top view. I'm just going to make sure that I pan like this. Zoom in. Too much of a glare, so I'm now going to angle a little bit to get rid of the glare, and that could work. That's an option. I'm not saying you have to do that, just showing you these different views. Let me dock this back up here. There's also an isometric view if you want something like that. Maybe not with the section cut, so let's take the view and turn on my section planes for a second. Take this one, right click, and I believe turn off active cut. Okay, that goes away. And then go back to my view, turn off my planes, and then pick a view that you like. But make sure that you turn off the axis and the guides. Maybe you have a nice view back here. You did something in your backyard. Maybe you added the pergola in the front. You want to show that off. Whatever works best for you is going to be fine. Or you just want to take one of the other views and get artistic with that also. That's your call. I just want you to experiment with the program. When you're all done, save your views and you are going to be all set for printing. Okay.